Hello and welcome. My name is Richard and you're listening to Hurry, the Movie is Starting podcast. Hello. Hope you are having a great day. You know what? It seems like a good day to have a good day, if you know what I'm saying. Today I'm going to be pre-gaming the movie Jurassic World Rebirth. However, I want to add a disclaimer at the beginning of this. I've already seen the movie. I was blessed enough to see the movie 2 weeks early, so I've already seen the movie. However, I will not spoil it at all in this pregame. So if you're going into this not wanting any information about the actual live movie, don't worry. I'm not going to put any of that information in there, and I will try and keep this pregame as preview-esque as I typically do with movies that I'm pre-gaming because I haven't seen them yet. But again, don't worry, I'm not going to include spoilers in here. So there's going to be a spoiler-free preview of Jurassic World Rebirth coming out July 3rd. This movie is PG-13 and is going to be a runtime of 2 hours and 14 minutes. Don't worry about sitting there waiting for the credits to end or something to happen during the end credits. There's nothing after the credits. So once this one's rolling, if you do not want to see the cast and just the information that provides at the end of the movie, you can just get up and go because there are no post-credit scenes after this movie. But there is a plot to this movie and you may ask, what's the plot of this movie? Is it about dinosaurs? Well, yes, it's Jurassic World. But the plot of this movie is 5 years post-Jurassic World Dominion, 2022, an expedition braves isolated equatorial regions to extract DNA from 3 massive prehistoric creatures from a groundbreaking medical breakthrough. Now, that is the plot. If you look at the trailer, you will see dinosaurs, you will see people getting killed, you will see people running away, you will see helicopters, and all the stuff you love to see in a Jurassic World / park kind of movie. So, it looks like we're getting back to form of the Jurassic Park days, and we're kind of sliding away from the Jurassic World kind of aspect. I mean, there are bits of both pieces of movies, it looks like, in the trailer, but I'm hoping for this one, which I've already seen it, so it's kind of hard to say I'm hoping. But what I was hoping to see in this movie was going back to the Jurassic Park roots, because while there are good scenes in Jurassic World and there's some memorable moments, I feel like personally that Jurassic World kind of fell off from what Jurassic Park was, especially that random twist about the girl being a clone. That was like, all right, what are we doing here? Literally, guys, what are we doing here? That was, to me, that was dumb. That was completely dumb. It was after that, after that whole section of the movie, that was not a Jurassic Park movie. But I digress. I clearly don't like that one. So watching the trailer for this movie, I have a soft spot for Jurassic Park. I'm going to be vulnerable with you for a second. One of my favorite memories from my childhood is going to watch Jurassic Park: The Lost World as a child for my birthday. I absolutely love that movie. I know it gets a little division from fandom, but that movie was a fantastic movie for a young boy growing up in a small town that loves to play with toys, because the toys for that movie were top tier. I mean, you had the Jeeps, you had the dinosaur catching gear, you had the Velociraptors, you had all the cool weapons. Oh my gosh. I think that was the first time they had the dinosaurs where the sides would pop out and you would see their cartilage and stuff. And that was a cool little effect of oh wow, we can now see the insides of dinosaurs too. So the toys for this movie was on point. I just remember it being a great, fantastic birthday memory. And I'm so glad I still have this memory to look back on today, because anytime someone's like, why do you like Jurassic Park? It's a lot more meaningful than they probably expect it to be. And thankfully I have that memory still running up there. When you get older, not all the memories come back to you. But anyways, that is going to be the plot for this movie. This movie is going to be directed by Gareth Edwards, who you might know from movies like Rogue One, Monsters, the 2014 Godzilla movie, and The Creator. So you see 2014 Godzilla, so you're like, okay, this guy has worked with giant reptiles before. Maybe perhaps he can do dinosaurs justice as well as he did Godzilla, because that movie had some beautiful cinematography in it. And I feel like in that movie he did a great job encapsulating the depth of Godzilla visually that we hadn't seen much of, because back in the day, in the early Godzilla movies, yeah, it's it is what it is. They did the best they could with the technology at that time. But seeing how far we advanced in technology now, it's nice to get an actual like in-depth look of the actual like creature and his body and just his mannerisms. And I think Gareth Edwards did a great job about doing that in Godzilla. So hopefully he can carry that over into Jurassic World Rebirth. The cast of this movie features Scarlett Johansson, aka ScarJo for all you fans out there, Jonathan Bailey, Rupert Friend, Mahershala Ali, Ed Skrein, Manuel Garcia Rolfo, and Luna Blaze. That rounds out the cast of this movie. Of course, there's a lot more cast than that, but those are the ones on the top of the IMDb. Now, let's get into the leaderboard. This one is covering June 13th through the 15th, so if you're trying to keep up weekly, it's 1 week behind, but it's information. It's cool information. Number 1 for the weekend of June 13th through the 15th is How to Train Your Dragon at 84.6 million. Number 2, dropping down to number 2, I should say, because it was originally the number 1, is Lilo and Stitch at 15.7 million. I mean, it's a week later, but still, it's good to see a Universal movie take down a Disney movie. And then the new number 3 is The Materialists, coming in at 11.3 million, which is not the greatest amount for an opening weekend, in my opinion. 11.3 is a lot of money, but for movies, I feel like that's featuring Chris Evans, Pedro Pascal, and is it Dakota Johnson, I believe? And those are 3 actors that are going to cost a little bit of money, so you know that movie costs a lot of money to make. 11.3 for that doesn't seem like a great turnout, but hey, you never know. It's just opening weekend. It had to compete with How to Train Your Dragon and the that one. What was that movie called? The Phoenician Scheme. It had 2 other movies to compete with. So, that's fine. That's fine. The top movies of 2025 in the box office, the domestic box office, remaining at number 1, a Minecraft movie at 423.9 million. Number 2 remains the same with Lilo and Stitch at 380 million, which is plus 24.4 million from last time. Staying in at number 3, up 2.2 million from the last recap, is Sinners at 276.7 million. Still sticking around at number 4 for how long, who knows, Captain America Brave New World at 200.5 million. And then number 5, only up 1.3 million, so the momentum seems to be ceasing for the Thunderbolts. But hey, maybe it'll catch Captain America, but it's still behind about a little over 11 million. So right now it's at 189.2 million, and that rounds out the top 5 of 2025 box office domestically for the movies. But if you're wondering, what about Letterboxd? The top 3 Letterboxd movies with friends. Number 1, White Chicks. And you might be thinking, like, if you haven't heard, let me break some news for you. Some of you might be wondering, like, why is the White Chicks on a top 3 Letterboxd? First off, it's a great movie, so that's boom. That's a good enough excuse right there. But second off, February 24th, Marlon Wayans confirmed a sequel. Yes, so we're getting a White Chicks 2. So, fun fact, it's funny, when you're, investing in comics, you're, looking for things like this, where someone's like, oh, this comic book character is going to get a movie, because when that is announced, the first appearance of that character in a comic typically goes up in price, because if that movie becomes a banger, this comic can become a lot more valuable in the eyes of collectors. It's funny to see this movie show up in a leaderboard when it hasn't had any new elements of it since it's obviously been created, but now we get news that there's a sequel, and then boom, pops up to the top of the leaderboard. So that's just fun to compare those different things that are still kind of similar. Number 2, Get Out. I don't know why that one's trending. I mean, obviously that's a great movie too. Maybe because Him is coming out this year too, and that is going to be another Jordan Peele movie, which I'm excited for this one. This is going to be a sports one. Jordan Peele has been pretty good at what he does. I love his style and his movies, and now we get a sports one. I am super hyped for that one, and I'm hoping that we can get, it's always good to be able to get people who don't watch sports into liking sports in some way or another. And this movie looks like it can definitely do that, with the looks of it, going to be supernatural, occultish, sports, and then just so much ritualistic stuff looks like it's going on in that movie. So if it can bring new fandom into just the sports area as a whole, or just understanding sports a little bit more, I think that's a win in my book, because sports, honestly, one of the greatest things in the world, not even from just watching standpoint, just from teamwork and just the attributes, skills, just the life development that playing sports can positively have in your life. And I just think that's something beautiful that him can actually accomplish. And number 3 on the top 3 letterboxed is going to be Gone Girl. Another one of those movies where I was similarly putting it up to Interstellar, where sometimes a movie's going to be fantastic, but you're kind of saving it for like a rainy day. That's what I'm saving Gone Girl for, because I feel like it's going to be a great movie in the likes of like Interstellar or something like that, and I'm just kind of holding it off for a rainy day. But that rounds off the top 3 letterboxed with the friends. All right, now we've talked about stats. Let's get into the fun. Let's get into, dare I say, the fun facts. Oh, it's a cheesy segue, but I'm running with it. Number 1, Gareth Edwards dropped everything to direct the film, stating before production, "I was about to take a break and I started writing my next idea for a film, and this is the only movie that would make me drop everything like a stone and dive right in. I love Jurassic Park 1993, so this opportunity is like a dream to me. And to work with Frank Marshall and Universal and David Cope, who's writing the script, I think they're all legends. So I'm very excited." That is a great fun fact. That is a fantastic fun fact. I feel like if you're going to watch a movie about something that you've kind of been following along with the franchise, because let's be real, I feel like a lot of us watching the Jurassic Park/World movies are fans of the original. I don't think, at least I personally don't think, someone's going in to watch Jurassic World Rebirth having seen none of the other Jurassic Parks and Worlds, right? That would be an interesting way to like dive into these movies. But I guess this one you can actually go in blind and still gain an appreciation for it. But regardless, if you're coming into a franchise like that where you have a fandom that is dedicated to constantly going and watching the movies, even if they're not the best, and you have a director who's excited, who puts everything he's doing to the side to jump right in because he looks up to the people that are working on this movie, he looks up to the franchise, I feel like that's what you want in a director that is going to continue a franchise or potentially like start a franchise from a new point. You want someone who's excited, because when someone's excited to do like the work, they're willing to go so much above and beyond, because to them it's not work, it's giving like appreciation to this love that they have. And I just think this is beautiful. That's a great fun fact. Fun fact number 2, speaking with Vanity Fair, Gareth Edwards revealed how the new terrifying mutated dinosaur, who can be briefly glimpsed in the official trailer, was designed, explaining that he drew upon classic movie monsters that have been scaring audiences for decades. When you make a creature, you get a big massive pot and pour in your favorite monsters from other films and books. He explained, sharing that alien xenomorph, Return of the Jedi's Rancor, and the T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park movie were all influences. Some Rancor went in there, some H.R. Geiger went in there, and a little T-Rex went in there, Edwards added. That explains a lot. That explains so much. Because you see this creature in the trailer, and also if you've been in Universal, you've seen the toy. The toy is pretty cool. But this creature does not look like a typical dinosaur. And it like my friend also said, like, oh, it looks kind of like an alien from Aliens. And boom, there's the fun fact stating that that was an influence. So that head designed with the xenomorphs in mind, with a little mixture of T-Rex and then the body of a Rancor. That's Star Wars, Aliens, and Jurassic Park, all 3 mixtures in one. Oh my gosh, like how are you not going to want to watch this movie? I'm hyping myself up for it again, and I've already seen it. Fun fact number 3. Glenn Powell turned down a role as he didn't feel he can add anything to the film, but went on to praise the script and express his love for the franchise. Okay, that's an interesting fact. I don't know if I would ever turn down, like, obviously I'm not in the same position as Glenn Powell, but I don't know if I would ever turn down, like, a Jurassic Park movie. I mean, okay, if he's turning it down after, like, only, like, recently with the distaste from Jurassic World, I can completely understand it. But still, like, as a fan, I would definitely go into it. But, I mean, we're all different people. Number 4, Scarlett Johansson is a huge fan of the franchise ever since she was a child. She spent the last 10 years before this film was announced trying to join the franchise, saying she would have been fine with appearing in one only to die in the first 5 minutes of it if it's meant that she could be a part of it. Oh my gosh. See, the fun facts are just full of people that love the franchise. Like, what? How can you not like that? Number 5, Jennifer Lawrence and Amanda Seyfried turned down the role of Zora Bennett. That's all good. That is all good because Scarlett Johansson did a fantastic job. And this was a role that, like, yeah, kind of comparative to, like, Black Widow, but she was a different character in this movie. It was fun to see her in this kind of light, especially around dinosaurs. I thought she did a great job. Next fun fact, the first film in the Jurassic Park film series to not have any cast members return from prior installments. All right, that's a fact right there. That is I don't know if that's considered a spoiler alert. I guess if you're going in for hopes of cameo, maybe that spoiled you there, but that is that. Next fun fact, David Leitch was in talks to direct the film, but he eventually turned it down because of creative differences with Universal. So that's interesting because we've covered him on the Hurry podcast before in movies like The Fall Guy. I think I talked about him briefly about like Bullet Train was a fantastic movie and Deadpool 2. So that's interesting. That would have been it also. I think I'm glad with saying this as a non-spoiler, but someone who's seen the movie, I'm glad they went with Gareth Edwards. I thought he did a great job. So things work out for a reason, and it looked like David Leitch stepped down for a reason, for his own reason. And thankfully we got something still what I think is good out of it. Next fun fact, David Cope came up with the idea for the Mutadons. He stated they are a combination of pterosaur and a raptor. He also told Empire, those came from my strange mind. We saw in some of the previous Jurassic World movies that their experiments made dinosaurs bigger, meaner, scarier, and it occurred to me and Steven that those can't have all gone well. Boom. Another thing that says something that's only in the trailer that dives a little deeper into it, but it's cool to see that they're kind of taking this idea of like, hey, there's been nothing but like solid good dinosaur mutations. What about the nightmare ones? Next fun fact, for the first time in his career, director Gareth Edwards used a 35mm Kodak film stock to shoot Jurassic World Rebirth. While it's the sixth entry in the franchise to be filmed on celluloid, it's the first to utilize Panavision anamorphic lenses to achieve a native 2.39:1 aspect ratio, unlike Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom in 2018, which achieved the ratio by cropping digital footage from a spherical ARR Alexa 65 cameras. Next fun fact, Jonathan Bailey's character is named Dr. Henry Loomis in tribute to Dr. Samuel Loomis, Donald Pleasant's character in the Halloween franchise. Okay, that is... Oh my gosh. So we got some Alien references. We got some Star Wars references. We got some freaking Halloween references. Oh my gosh. You hear Loomis and you think like Halloween, but I was like, why would like that be a connection? Bro, we're getting Halloween references in a Jurassic Park movie. That's sick. Next fun fact, there's so many, and all of them are like good too. Mutant or deformed dinos came up in several previous unmade scripts. One of them also had a D-Rex in the form of a Doomsday Rex, which was also a horrifically deformed T-Rex. I would love to see what that like looked at like. This will be released 10 years after Jurassic World, the first one in 2015. Next fun fact, the cast includes one Oscar winner, Mahershala Ali, and one Oscar nominee, Scarlett Johansson. Boom, boom, boom. And then for the last fun fact, this is, I guess, a fun fact, and it's been downvoted 19 times, so maybe some people aren't having as fun with it as I am, but this is the first Jurassic World movie to not be released the same year as a Hotel Transylvania movie. That is a random fact, and if you know that, you can tell someone in line, and maybe they'll be like, oh, there's no way, and then they'll Google it and be like, oh my gosh, you're right. That is a random fact that I would have probably never known in this lifetime, but there you go. You can have that one for free. That will round out the fun facts for this movie, and to be honest, those are probably my favorite fun facts in any pregame so far. But again, I'm very biased in the Jurassic Park franchise. Maybe less so in the Jurassic World part of that franchise, but Jurassic Park 1, Jurassic Park 2, my favorite, obviously because of the reason I explained earlier. And then Jurassic World 3, I remember it getting a lot of hate, but I like that one. But I got to go back and watch it as an adult because I remember loving it. But that's just my opinion on that. That's going to round out the fun facts. Let's jump to the comment section.
The comment section.
First comment comes from @RedRuss84. Quotes, "No one is dumb enough to go where we're going," end quote. "Can I bring a kid?" See, I'm not going to comment on that one because my comment would be a spoiler for the film, so I'm just not going to comment on that. But that is a funny observation. @Whelps says, "At this point, I'm rooting for the dinosaurs." Yes, and I understand that because the humans are constantly doing sus things and putting themselves in places they should not be and doing the dumbest of things around these creatures that are very dangerous, whether even the herbivores are massive and can accidentally step on anyone or sit on anyone or kill anyone. But yes, let's keep putting ourselves in dangerous situations. So rooting for the dinosaurs isn't the craziest thing. Titanium Titan 741 says Universal is going to make these dinosaurs work till they're 90. Oh yeah, there's already a retirement plan in place for the T-Rex if you don't know. @Jason-IJ3YS says, "I remember that one time the original Jurassic Park preview showed 0 dinosaurs and was the best movie ever." Huh. That is interesting. I need to go back and watch that original trailer for Jurassic Park because I don't remember. Obviously, I was a kid when the movie came out, so I don't remember the trailer, but that would be interesting to see the trailer for the first time and then see how far we've come since that first trailer. @DarkMatter2525 said, "Looking forward to Jurassic Universe Resurrection 8, where they find the 10th super secret island where real research was done." Yeah, these plots sometimes are getting out of hand, and it's I don't think it's as bad as the Fast and Furious franchise, but after Jurassic World, the other ones, I don't know anymore. That clone one, really. Now I'm thinking about that, I'm like, okay, maybe we have gotten to the extreme ridiculous. But don't worry, this one, in my spoiler-free opinion, I think this one doesn't get into that randomness that doesn't make much sense. @Micah DeWitt 5110 says, "These dinosaurs were too dangerous for the original park," end quote. Pretty sure every dinosaur was. Yes, again, these are creatures that tear people apart, that can accidentally step on you and kill you that way. These are creatures that in these movies seem like they are completely underestimated, and maybe that's why the dinosaurs always kill a bunch of people throughout the way. But @Bruce Wayne, but there's no E, 2533 says 49 seconds, quote, "No one's dumb enough to go where we're going," end quote. "Someone in the squad, let me bring my family then." Yeah, again, I cannot comment on that because my comment would be a spoiler. So it's funny that we're getting the same quote on the same lines. @TopDog Indian Peretz says, "I'm a grown man, but every time I see dinosaurs, I be really, really nostalgic because I used to watch these with my mom and all the original Jurassic Park films." Boom! Exactly! Same! I watched, Jurassic World, watching it in theaters with my family was it's one of the best. I think it's my top 3 memories of all time in my life. And just watching people get shredded by dinosaurs is just a family bonding experience. You want to build some family bonds? Boom, go watch someone get devoured by a T-Rex. That'll help. @BallForReal691 says, "I know trailers aren't allowed to lie to us, but if a raptor said Alan, that would have sold me." Okay, yeah. So that's a reference to, I think it's Jurassic Park 2 or 3, where he's sleeping and the dinosaur, the raptor, yells Alan out loud. That's a random comment. And then last comment comes from @Lisan Al Garib. "After so many sequels, my brain still goes, yay, dinosaurs." Yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone. A lot of us love dinosaurs. I mean, who could not love dinosaurs? The freaking Velociraptor, that is oh my gosh, that dinosaur. obviously my favorite dinosaur, but I mean, it's a lot of people's favorite dinosaurs, but it's a freaking really cool dinosaur. That is the end of the comment section. And that is going to allow me to give you my top 3 reasons why you should go watch this movie. And you know what? Because I watched this movie already, I'm going to give you a number 4. And because I love you, there's not going to be any spoilers in this number 4. But number 1, Gareth Edwards at the helm. He directed Rogue One and Godzilla. Has that creature shot eye to pay homage to OGs, similar to like the Final Destination route where the director going into that movie like paid homage, and you can tell that movie came from someone who knew the franchise. So we're getting that in a Jurassic Park movie. And he started, like, Gareth Edwards, a little bit of his past, he started in visual effects, directed the movie Monsters, which only took him 3 weeks to shoot. That success from that movie resulted in Gareth Edwards getting multiple offers from major film studios, including Warner Brothers. So this man knows what he's doing. He did a good job in Godzilla in 2014. I think he's going to carry over into this movie, and that's why that's the number 1 reason I think you should watch this movie. Number 2 reason why I think you should go watch this movie, it gets back to why we love Jurassic Park. So, hear me out here. On IMDb, the scores for these movies, Jurassic Park got an 8.2 out of 10. That was the original Jurassic Park. 8.2 out of 10. That is a great score. Then you look at The Lost World Jurassic Park, which is a sequel, drops all the way down to a 6.6 out of 10. So something happened from 1 to 2 that made fans and critics go like, eh. Then it gets worse. Jurassic Park 3 comes out. That comes with a 5.9 out of 10, which is 0.7 lower than the sequel. So now the fandom is like, more so like, eh. Then Jurassic World comes out and brings the franchise a little back to the second level, but above the second level. So lower than the original, but better than the sequel at a 6.9 out of 10. The sequel for that one, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, then plummets back down 6.1 out of 10. And then Jurassic World Dominion drops down to the lowest of all of them of all time, 5.6 out of 10. So you see the original started off at an 8.2, and then we have left off at a 5.6. This movie, from the trailer and from me already seeing it, looks like it's going to get Jurassic Park back to its original form. So with this movie being like a restart to the franchise, I think it has potential to get back up to that level. Maybe not an 8.2, but it can get higher up to even past the 6.9, which is the second highest. I think this one can be that next best movie after the Jurassic Park original movie. Some people say that the new Final Destination is up there with the originals too, but obviously Final Destination 2 is the best one ever in my opinion. But the number 3 reason you should watch this movie is back to horror. The idea of dinosaurs, more so carnivores, existing is terrifying. Throughout the trailer, this kind of gives more so of that like horror vibe. And when you're dealing with dinosaurs, specifically like carnivores, these dangerous creatures that are faster than us, bigger than us, stronger than us, like, how is it not about horror? Like, the original Jurassic Park had very much horror elements, and I feel like there's a lot of horror elements in these like movies. But I feel like once we got into the Jurassic World arc, there are horror moments, but it felt more like a just not necessarily a comedy, but less serious. Whereas the vibe for this movie gives off, in my opinion, that kind of like horror vibe without jumping like completely into just horror, like the horror genre as a whole, because it is made, I feel like this movie is not, it's obviously made for like adults, but like I feel like it's made with kids in mind as well. And you can't necessarily make a horror movie when it's like the toys and all that stuff. Maybe, but I don't know. It just kind of gives me that horror vibe, and it just doesn't feel like a cheap Jurassic Park movie. And number 4, and this is the bonus reason for you because I've seen the film, but don't worry, again, there's no spoilers. Number 4 reason I think you should watch this movie, cinematography is just fantastic. I think Gareth Edwards does a great job of just capturing creatures and showing emotion and just art of these animals that don't really exist but potentially have existed in the past, and just what are like his thoughts of how they would interact and just shape like that. Gareth Edwards does a good job at what he does, and he knows how to capture what the fans and us like to see. And I think that's just, we got a good director at the helm directing a franchise that a lot of us have kind of stepped away from, thinking that it's not good. It's just something that we have to go watch because we've already invested so much time in. But I think Gareth Edwards is kind of changing that direction with it in a good way. And I think that's why you should go watch this movie. But that is enough about why you should watch this movie. And we're going to finish this off with the over-under. So we're coming into this week with a 5-3-2 record, 5 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties. I said 28 years later, the line for that was 7.2 out of 10. I said it was going to go over, and wouldn't you know it enough, 34,000 people have rated this movie, and it still remains at a 7.2. So I might have to start cutting these lines a little bit just to make it a little bit tough for myself, but that line was set at 7.2, didn't budge at all. Again, another tie, which isn't terrible. It's better than a loss, I guess. But anyways, you didn't come here for that. You came here for the over-under on this movie. So if we're adding up all those previous scores I told you for the Jurassic Park and World movies and average it out, you get a total of 6.6. However, if you compare just the first films of the franchise, so Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, compare those two, an 8.2 and a 6.9, you get an average of 7.6. Now, when you get an average of 7.6 and 6.6, you combine those, you get 7.1 out of 10. And I think I'm going confidently saying that this is going to go over. I'm predicting like a 7.3. I think this is going to be the second highest rated in the franchise. I think it's a great movie. I think people are going to love it. I think it's going to bring the fandom back. I think it's going to, not only is it going to bring the fandom back, but because people are going to love it, it's going to get out there talking more, and then more people are going to go watch it. Unfortunately, the one downside with this movie is like being in theaters at this time. Next week it has to compete with Superman, and then a week from then it has to compete with Fantastic Four. So is this movie going to break box office records? Probably not, because Fantastic Four and Superman might do that first. But nonetheless, I think it's a great movie. I think it's a great movie to start your July with, and I think you should go watch it. And I think it's going to go over 7.1 out of 10. That is the over-under, and that is going to end this podcast. Just a couple things before we end it. Don't forget the Faith Collection. It is a collection that I am creating on Etsy of greeting cards. If you want to share your faith with someone that you think needs it, or you just want to share the word of God or just the love of God in a form of a greeting card to someone, I will put the link in the description, and it is a Faith Collection on the Etsy store, the Card Holders Co. It is a collection that I'm trying to add one new card a week, and all 100% proceeds of these cards will be donated to the Action Church. So if you're buying a card from the Faith Collection, 100% of that sale will be donated to the Action Church in Winter Park. So a fun little way to give back to God, who has given me so much in this world, that I can only be so grateful and try and give back in ways I know how. There is going to be a new segment coming out called 5 Stars, so stay tuned for that. That is going to add some life and a little bit more different perspective on this podcast. So it's going to be a little fun segue, but don't worry, it's still going to be doing the pre-games and the ratings. And speaking of pre-games, I'm excited for this next one, because the next pre-game coming out is going to be next week. It's going to be Superman, coming out on July 11th. So I am hyped for this one. I am not a Superman fan. Let me just spoil that right now. I can't stand Superman. I think Batman's better. I will fight Superman fans on this fandom. However, I love James Gunn. He's one of my favorite, if not favorite, directors at this moment. So I'm hyped for it. I'm going to become a Superman fan for this movie, and I'm ready to go see it. But stay tuned for that pregame. That's coming out next week. And that's going to be all for me. Honestly, thanks. I just want to say thank you all for coming in today. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great day. God bless. Hope your week's going pretty good. And God bless. I'm excited for pregame Superman with y'all. That's going to be the end of this one. As always, don't forget, hurry, the movie is starting. Thanks for listening.